So that's the collapse of Bronze Age civilizations. Sometime around 1200, maybe 1177 BC. It's followed by the centuries we know as the Dark Age, and our period, our classical period, is civilization bouncing back, and that is the re-emergence now of new kingdoms, new empires. We're going to illustrate that. Yadi and Jada had a brilliant idea. They've got a crown for me. Would you come forward, please? And that's the only way to walk. You got to do the microphone dance. Yeah, so come around the behind. You don't have to do the microphone dance because she lifted it up. All right. Oh, okay. You come behind me, and then you can.
Oh, that kind of hurt. Not gonna lie.
We both hold the signs.
Victoria, how do you feel about the quality of your education today?
Read.
Let's read what it says.
No, read it out loud. Just read it, silently.
It doesn't say anything. Oh. it says your mom. Thank you, Yadi and Jada. What we're going to move on, you lift and or you step over. You can also step over it. Maybe that's how I should advise people to do it. So let's talk now about what comes next, who the next big power is. And there are some before this. The Assyrians bounced back and have a great empire. But once they're out of the way in the classical period, the next big power is the Babylonians. Babylon is in Iraq. Okay. So after the Hittites and Assyrians, the next great power is the Babylonian Empire. You'll hear it called the Neo-Babylonian Empire or the New Babylonian Empire because there was an older one. That's how that works. Something is new because it's not the old one. This is a period of Babylon's dominance, Babylon's ascendancy is a period marked by a great cultural renaissance. And they build a great civilization, although they are remembered in our culture largely as the ultimate bad guys. Babylon is usually used as a synonym for a wicked and hopelessly dark and evil place. That's because they played the role of bad guys in one of the most influential works of literature in our culture, not from our culture, but in our culture, and that's the Bible. They're one of the Bible's big time enemies or bad guys, and we'll find out why here in just a second. This is King Nebuchadnezzar II, one of the greatest kings of Babylon. You'll see they have this great empire, but remember, empires don't last forever. This great Babylonian empire only lasts for about 100 years. We're already almost 2.5 times as old as the Babylonian Empire ever got to be. So here's what happens. Isabel, come on up here. Isabel, remember yesterday we said that it is very important for an imperial power to project military strength. I want the surrounding peoples to think that my military is not to be screwed with, that it's not worth it to cross me because I will crush you. Why is that? Why would I want that? Because I can't. Well, it's like you see in a movie. I've never been to prison, but you see in a movie your first night in prison, you're supposed to punch the biggest guy, so that they know not to mess with you, because you want to look tough. Why do you want to look tough?
Well, not respect, kind of like fear.
Yeah, well, both respect and fear. It's in a sense, it's a way to keep peace. They won't invade me if they think it's hopeless. So I project that strength. This was what happened to Babylon. Watch this now. So they're building their empire, and they set their sights on Egypt. Said, I'm going to take Egypt. That's a lot of imperial powers want Egypt. It's a nice jewel in your crown if you're an empire builder. Napoleon wanted Egypt just because Alexander had it. So he tries to invade Egypt. It doesn't work. He tries to conquer Egypt in 601 BC, and the Egyptians fight them off. That starts a domino effect of people saying, wait a minute, you can beat Babylon. If Egypt can defeat Babylon, maybe I can too. So now there is rebellion after rebellion after rebellion in the Babylonian Empire. Smaller kings that are controlled by Babylon start rebelling against the boss back in Babylon. That includes, thank you, Isabella. That includes this dude, King Jehoiakim of Judah. Judah's a very tiny little country. It's the southern two tribes of what used to be the United Nation of Israel. And King Jehoiakim stages a rebellion. Doesn't work. But he thought he'd have a chance to beat Babylon because they showed weakness by being defeated by Egypt. Now, when the Judean rebellion doesn't work, Babylon decides we're going to punish these rebels. And so in 587 BC, I don't know why that picture's so blurry. I couldn't hold the camera steady. In 587 BC, Jerusalem is wiped out by the Babylonians. The temple in Jerusalem, which is the center for Jewish worship and life, at least according to legend, built by King Solomon himself, is annihilated, wiped out. And of those people who aren't killed, many of the Jewish elite are captured and deported back to Babylon. So he marches the wealthy and he marches the priests. It's the same two groups in the elite sitting around that table, no matter what the culture. So he marches the rich and he marches the priests back to Babylon, and they have to live and serve the king of Babylon far away from their home for 70 years. We have something unique from the destruction of Jerusalem that it would be so awesome if we had from Troy, but we don't. And that's firsthand account, primary source, a survivor on the street describing what life was like in the ruins of Jerusalem after Babylon wiped them out. My eyes are spent with weeping. My stomach churns. My bile is poured out to the ground because of the destruction of the daughter of my people, because infants and babies faint in the streets of the city. They cry to their mothers, "Where is bread and wine?" as they faint like the babies want wine, as they faint like a wounded man in the streets of the city, as their life is poured out on their mother's bosom. Daddy would love this if she were listening. It's all about babies dying. What can I say for you? To what compare you, O daughter of Jerusalem? What can I liken to you that I may comfort you, O virgin daughter of Zion? For your ruin is vast as the sea. Who can heal you? Your prophets have seen for you false and deceptive visions. They have not exposed your iniquity to restore your fortunes, but have seen for you oracles that are false and misleading. All who pass along the way clap their hands at you. They hiss and wag their heads at the daughter of Jerusalem. Is this the city that was called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the earth? All your enemies rail against you. They hiss, they gnash their teeth. They cry, "We have swallowed her." Ah, this is the day we longed for. Now we have it. We see it. The Lord has done what he purposed. He has carried out his word, which he commanded long ago. He has thrown down without pity. He has made the enemy rejoice over you and exalted the right hand of your foes. So by tradition, those words are attributed to the prophet Jeremiah, first-hand account of the destruction of Jerusalem by Babylon. Here's why this has enduring influence for our culture. Once the Jewish elite are deported to Babylon and they stay there an entire generation, they're there for 70 years, it's in that context that not all, but much of the Hebrew Bible, what you may know of as the Old Testament, is composed or compiled in Babylon by the Jewish priests during this 70-year exile. And for our Western culture, there are two primary streams that flow into Western culture. One is the Greco-Roman, and that's native to the West, and one is the Hebrew tradition, which is an import to the West. And that tradition is largely formed during the 70 years in Babylon. And that's where, let's just take a quick look real quick. Take a quick look. So here is the Neo-Babylonian Empire. You see, they never quite make it up to Troy, but they take a large chunk of territory, and they're on the rise, and they've already influenced us, and they're going to last forever, right? Because empire, you're an emperor, you want your empire to last forever, right? Yeah. Does it? Dynasty, come join me. Sit in the chair. No, you can sit in the chair. Don't go to the bathroom in my chair. Pick, and I guess nobody's doing the microphone dance anymore.
No.
Dynasty.
Yeah.
So if you're an emperor, you want your empire to last forever, right?
Right.
Is it gonna?
It depends.
It depends on what?
I don't know.
How good you are at emperoring?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have any of them ever lasted forever before?
Okay.
Actually, say no.
No.
No, none of them have ever lasted forever.
No.
No, and neither will Babylon. We've already said it only lasts 100 years. Who's the next big player? We'll talk about that next time we have a discussion like that. We are going to meet the Persian Empire, the arch enemy of the Greeks. We'll do that next time we have a conversation like this.
Okay.
Folks at home, I got nothing for you. We'll just end.
Bye. Can I use the restroom?
Never.